and welcome to Boardman Park, and welcome to the Boardman Civic Association's Election Forum. I'm Mark Luke, a member and board member of the Boardman Civic Association. We're so very excited to be here tonight, this beautiful evening on the autumnal equinox, to inform Boardman residents and interested community members on the candidates and issues on the November 3rd general election ballot. Our evening and setting have changed this year, yet here we are, able to present this valuable community service. We appreciate those in attendance this evening, and those watching live streaming and on taped rebroadcast. You have many news and entertainment options afforded to you, yet you're choosing to be an informed electorate and voter. We thank you for that consideration of your civic duties. We're also thankful to the Boardman Civic Association's membership and board, as well as Boardman Park staff and commissioners for all of their valuable support. We ask that all of you in attendance abide by the posted health department guidelines concerning masking and social distancing. At this time, if you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation from Dan Segul. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so first up this evening, representing the Mahoney County Senior Citizens Levy, will be Direction Home CEO Joe Rossi.
Move that down a little bit. Good evening, or good afternoon, everyone. Like Mark said, my name is Joe Rossi. I'm the CEO of Direction Home of Eastern Ohio. We used to be known as the Area Agency on Aging. I'd first like to thank the Boardman Civic Association for holding this event today and having all the candidates here. Thank you very much for doing that. I'd like to spend a few minutes talking to you about issue one, and that is the renewal of the Mahoney County Senior Services Levy. And just a reminder, this is not a new tax. This is a renewal. In March of 2016, the voters of Mahoney County passed the Senior Services Levy, a one-mil levy that generates approximately $4 million. And these funds are used to purchase many different services. And I just want to give you a little idea of what we purchase with those services. First is nutrition services. Last year, we provided 900 home delivered meals to 900 seniors in the county. And we provided 1,200 senior citizens vouchers for the Seniors Farmers Market. And the Senior Farmers Market is the senior will receive $50 vouchers to get fresh fruits and vegetables from farms here in Mahoney County. So it's the dollars are staying within the county. So it's a really great program. We also run wellness programs. And we had about 5,800 individuals that went through the wellness and senior recreation programs. And the programs included fall prevention and disease self-management programs. And they're usually held at local senior dollars last, not first, last. So we use federal and state dollars first. And in 2019, we had over 1,400 senior citizens receiving these case management services, which included personal care, chores services, minor home modification, emergency response, and other in-home services. Direction Home has been administering the program since 2017. The agency has a proven track record of efficiency and effectiveness in administering both federal, state programs and services. Direction Home has a record of excellence with the Ohio Department of Aging and the Ohio Department of Medicaid. The agency, 30 seconds, all right. We do a lot of cool stuff. We'll just leave it at that. What I want to do is show, because we're in Boardman Township, just to let you know, since the inception of the program, we've had over 550 seniors on the program from Boardman Township, and they've received over $1.4 million in services. Ladies and gentlemen, on November 3rd, you once again will be asked to help older adults in Mahoney County, and a vote for the issue one is a vote for seniors. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you very much, Joe. Our next speaker, representing the Mahoney County Board of Developmental Disabilities, is County Services Director Emily Martinez.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you to the Boardman Civic Center for having such a great event tonight. A wonderful, great night it is, right? I'm sure we're all glad that it's beautiful outside, so thank you again for having us. As he said, my name is Emily Martinez, and I'm the Director of Community Services from the Mahoney County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and we are issue number 2. The Mahoney County Board of Developmental Disabilities Renewal 3 Mill Levy, again, is issue number 2. The levy was first put on the ballot in November of 2000, so we have not asked for additional funds for over 20 years. And again, we're not asking for additional funds. This is a renewal. This is a 5-year renewal levy, which again means no new taxes, and the levy commences in 2021. Just to give you some facts about the wonderful services that we provide to all of the residents in Mahoning County, this levy helps us so much with all of our funding to help individuals with developmental disabilities and their families thrive in this community. 56% of the Mahoning County Board of Developmental Disability Services are funded through this levy. It is absolutely essential to the lives of the individuals that we serve and their families. Each mill of this levy brings in $4 million in federal and state funds. We at our county board are good stewards of taxpayers' dollars, serving individuals in the most cost-effective way possible while ensuring people are safe and healthy in their homes. The Mahoney County Board of Developmental Disabilities offers school services at Leonard Kurtz School. We offer early intervention services to help our youngest community members and their families thrive within the Mahoning County community. We also offer workshop and employment services and transportation. The DD Board also has 45 social workers that coordinate services for people with developmental disabilities and helps to fund those services. These services include accessibility equipment, home modifications for safety and to help people live at home with their families longer while being safe, workshop services, employment services, transportation, and residential services to those who need them. During the pandemic, we have not stopped. We've probably worked even harder. We've helped folks safely return to work, obtain services safely in their home or in the community as applicable, and we've provided personal protective equipment to families, individuals, and providers that serve individuals with developmental disabilities all across this community. With this levy and combined funds, we're able to draw down from the federal and state government, and that allows us to provide over $70 million worth of services each year, right here in the Mahoning County community. These dollars help individuals and their families get the services that they need to stay safe and healthy and live a productive and fulfilling life in Mahoning County. These services also mean lots of jobs all across our community for the different vendors that we work with, county board employees, and all of our providers across this community that help individuals with developmental disabilities and their families get the services that they need. For an average homeowner with a home that's $100,000, the annual cost of this is only $97.29. Please remember on November 3rd that Mahoning County Board of Developmental Disabilities serves over 1,500 individuals with developmental disabilities in this community. We impact their lives every single day. And we ask that on November 3rd, you remember to vote yes for issue 2. And again, it is not a new tax. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Emily. Next, we have representing Boardman Township, Township Administrator Jason Lurie.
Thank you, everybody. It's a beautiful night here in Boardman. Everyone coming out tonight, we really appreciate everyone socially distancing and following the guidelines. This is a very challenging time for our community and most of the country, but I'm here tonight to remind and let everyone know that we do actually have 3 renewals on the ballot this November. They're very important to Boardman Township. These are not new tax dollars coming in. This money goes to support the police and fire and the road and the zoning, all of our safety service departments. And in a time like this, these are the folks that are doing a heck of a job under very different and difficult times. So with that, I just want to make sure I really explain what these are and do it in a way that everyone here remembers what I said afterwards. So we have a 2.5 mil levy. It was passed in 1995. That tax dollar at the time brought in $1.8 million. It can never bring any more because the way tax levies are funded in the state, once you lock in a tax levy, it stays at the current valuation at the time it was passed. So again, it's a 2.5 mil levy passed in 1995, and it brings in roughly $1.8 million. The next levy we have on the ballot is a 3.85 mil levy. It was passed in 2011. This levy allowed us to bring our police department back up to full strength. It generates $3.5 million and can only be used for the police department. It's a very important levy in making sure that we keep our safety forces working, and the police are doing an incredible job right now under, like I said, extenuating circumstances. The last levy we have is a 0.7 mil levy. This levy was passed in 1976. It's a long, long time this levy's been passed and on the ballot. It roughly brings in $265,000. Not a very big levy, but it's a very important levy. All this collectively adds up to roughly $5.5 million to keeping the township running. So these aren't new levies, like I had said, they are renewals. They keep our safety forces working and keeping everybody safe in Boardman Township. And with that, I do want to spend just 2 seconds and say that you are in beautiful Boardman Township Park. They also have a levy on. And this is a very important levy for them. This is the last time this levy can go on. And I visit this park frequently, just like I hope most of you do. And it's very important for them, just like it is for Boardman Township. So with that being said, I know I drained off of my time to talk a little bit about Boardman Park, but I think it's important to just recognize that this is a beautiful facility, beautiful park, and we like to keep it that way. So thank you for my time here tonight. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Next, representing Boardman Township Park, Commissioner Joyce Mistovich.
Hello, and welcome to Boardman Park. On behalf of Boardman Park and my fellow commissioners, Trent Kaler and Ken Goldsboro, I welcome you to our beautiful green oasis this evening. Since our beginning in 1947, the mission of Boardman Park has been to provide our community with a diversity of recreational and educational opportunities, as well as to preserve areas of undisturbed natural habitat. On the November 3rd general election ballot, Boardman Park will have a renewal of an existing 6/10 mil levy. This renewal levy, which is on the ballot November 3rd, means no new taxes. It is a renewal. The existing 6 mil levy was first approved in 1980 and generates $522,800 annually, which represents 45% of the park's income. If annual income, I might add. If this renewal is not approved, the park will lose 45% of its income next year and going forward. So what does this levy cost a Boardman homeowner? The renewal of the 6 mil levy will cost the owner of a $100,000 home less than $19 yearly, or 5 cents a day. Just pennies a day to keep our green oasis green. I'm very proud to report that Boardman Park is the only park in the state of Ohio that has operated on the same tax millage for 72 years. I'd also like to add that while essentially operating and preserving this green oasis on a 1 mil levy for 72 years, the number of park visitors has dramatically increased. Our 243 contiguous acres within this park is well used and appreciated by over 500,000 visitors annually. The park is one of the most popular recreational areas in all of Mahoney Valley, currently providing 60 acres of active recreational green space and 183 acres of natural habitat. And since 1947, the size of our park has tripled. Please understand that while operating on a 1 mil levy for 72 years, the park's budget has been further challenged by a dramatic increase in attendance, which has resulted in a 40% increase in operating costs since 2009. The park's budget has also been challenged by reductions in local government funding and reimbursements from the state. The park has lost $185,000, about 14% of its budget since 2009. So what are the benefits of Boardman Park? Boardman Park preserves public land with about 38,000 trees within the park. We provide critical environmental functions that contribute to many of life's essentials. Groundwater recharge, stormwater protection, making water clean, cleaning the air and returning oxygen to the atmosphere, and providing habitat for wildlife. Amid a pandemic that's upended rhythms of daily life around the globe, one thing remains constant. People around the world have shifted to life outdoors, moving to more open-air living. Experts have long known that time outdoors makes you happy. Spending just 2 hours a week in natural environments such as parks or green spaces boosts not only well-being, but your overall attitude in life, according to a 2019 paper published by the journal Nature. The Boardman Park Board and staff have never wavered from our mission, and throughout the years have worked very diligently to meet the recreational needs of an ever-growing community, while the board serves to be prudent stewards of the money entrusted to us. Boardman Park is popular because of the unique footprint of recreational activities and educational programming that we provide. Our purpose is to create wholesome opportunities to live and interact with family, friends, and neighbors. 243 acres of beautiful recreational green space in the heart of Boardman. Our park, our home. Thank you so much for your support over the years. Thank you, Jason, for your kind words, and please help us support this beautiful green oasis. Have a great night.
Thank you very much, Joyce, and we are so pleased to be here in our beautiful Boardman Park. So wonderful that our taxpayers do support our wonderful park districts here in Mahoney County and in Boardman in particular as well. Next up, we have Boardman Local School District and Superintendent Tim Saxton.
Thank you, Mark, and I want to thank everybody for coming out. What a beautiful night. What a beautiful place. What a beautiful event. So I just appreciate you taking time out and enjoying us. I'm Tim Saxton, the superintendent of the Boardman Local Schools. It's my pleasure to be in my 5th year to be the leader of our Boardman Spartans. It's actually my 19th year with the Boardman Local Schools. And the good news is we got back to school business this week. It was great to get our kids back in school. It was great to get back to educating kids. We have 70% of our students attending in person, and we have about 30% of our students attending remotely. So it was just great to see young students come excited to school, and I would say to see smiling faces. But with these on, we see a lot of smiling eyes and smiling eyebrows, I guess you would say. But it was just good to be back. Up on the issue ballot is 2 renewals for the Boardman schools. We have a 5.9, and these are renewals, not new taxes, a 5.9 mil levy that was first passed in 1996. It generates about $4 million for the Boardman schools, and we also have a 6 mil renewal. Again, not new taxes, it's a renewal. It was first passed in 1991, and it generates about $3 million for the Boardman schools. As we know, the cost of doing business has gone up for just about every industry, and schools have also been impacted. We did receive some CARES and some ESSER funds that truly helped offset the cost of plexiglass, hand sanitizer, mask, and other PPE purchases. But we got to go back to May of 18 when we stood in front of the Boardman community and we made a promise when we passed a new money issue back in that May of 18 that we would go 10 years with that new money, and we continue to keep that promise. Over the last 2 years, we have reduced over 16 staff members to keep ourselves fiscally responsible. But what may have gone unnoticed during March when schools had to switch to 100% remote, what happened in the last 3 months of our fiscal year was the governor removed $883,000 out of our expected budget for that year, and then $883,000 out of our budget for this year. So if my math still works, that's about $1.7 million that we were counting on that got removed. So you can understand how important every dollar that we have is important to us, and these renewals will help us to keep our solid programs like BSTN, Mr. Klonis and Sam, and Mrs. Radenovic, thank you for being out here. If you've ever tuned into our YouTube channel, they just do a phenomenal job, and that's just one example. We also eagerly wait Thursday to hear about another national award. West Boulevard is up for a second, which is very rare across our nation, Blue Ribbon Award, and we eagerly wait to hear if that will be granted to us. So what I ask is, if we remember 2 renewals and not new money, we will continue to do our parts, and we need to work together and continue to keep the Boardman School strong and support the renewals. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And go Spartans.
Okay, thank you very much, Tim. That ties up our levy speakers for the evening. Now we moved on to the contested elected races. So again, just to renew the format, it's 3 minutes for the candidate to make their statement. Then we'll have a question for each race, and they will be able to respond for a 1-minute response. And I do ask the candidates that as announce your race, if the 2 candidates would come up and sit at each table, one per table, and then you'll be able to effectively come up for the question as well. So at this time, we ask to come forward candidates for the United States Congressional 13th District race, Christina Hagan and Tim Ryan. They will be speaking in alphabetical order, so the first speaker is Christina Hagan.
Good evening, I'm Christina Hagan, the Republican nominee for Ohio's 13th Congressional District. I'm proud to be here tonight amongst many Republicans, Independents, Democrats, and proud Ohioans and Americans. It is my honor as a working class mother to carry the helm for the Republican Party. It is without question that I'm here today to represent a lot of forgotten people in the working class. I am the proud daughter, sister, and wife to the trades. I grew up in our family's small heating and plumbing business, going on service calls into many people's homes in our community. I waited tables for over 15 years as I worked aggressively to pay my way and be the first in my entire family to graduate and earn a college degree. I'm also proud to be the youngest woman to serve in the history of the Ohio House of Representatives, where I earned a little bit of support from across the country from organizations like Forbes 30 Under 30 for my work in restoring our economy and in law and policy. It's time that we sent somebody to Washington, D.C. who represented our working class values and didn't forget what they campaigned on and stood for. I'm proud to be pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and stand for working class Americans like the family members that I represent, like the community that we represent. And I think about all the men and women on our local economy who have suffered for far too long. And I think it's time that we sent a real working class leader to Washington, D.C., somebody who fought for instead of against our safety services. As I've watched the egregious liberal attack on the average working class American in this country, as I've seen the letters that have been written to A.G. Barr that are irreversible and indefensible, attacking our brave men and women in blue, I think about the fact that my husband wakes up every single day as a firefighter, as a volunteer firefighter, working alongside our safety services, and it is time that we restore respect in this country for the men and women who are willing to give any and everything. It is because of brave veterans and fallen soldiers like my classmate that I recognize the grave responsibility that we have in front of us as average Americans to take back what is ours when it has been so long forgotten. And I think about the fact that this district has lost year after year after year. The businesses have closed in an unparalleled way in Ohio 13 versus any other district in this entire state. Yesterday, we read the sad news that Youngstown, Ohio, the heart of this district, has the second highest rate of poverty in the entire country. That is simply unacceptable. When I was in the state legislature, I fought for things that helped all walks of life, including financial literacy, so that every student in every classroom in this state could learn and work and have an opportunity to serve and compete. It is time that we left the R and the D behind and we looked at the policies that will help this country to succeed. I am proud and honored to be supported and endorsed by President Trump, by United States Senator Rob Boardman, by our congressmen locally, and also by our great leaders here in the community. There are lifelong Democrats who are coming alongside me and asking me to serve. This is by no mistake that people feel left behind. I am proud to have an accomplished record in the state legislature. I am proud to be a working class mother, and I would be so honored to have the opportunity to represent you in Congress.
Hi, I'm Tim Ryan, your congressman for the past 18 years. And you know, we're in the political season here where you get a lot of half-truths, you get a lot of people trying to shade the arguments, and I'd like to touch base on a couple of them. My opponent has been trying to pin me as some socialist that's out of touch with our district. Georgetown University, a few weeks back, came out with an analysis on bipartisanship. I was number 2 most bipartisan person in the state of Ohio, and number 35 in the entire Congress of 435 people. I will work across the aisle with anybody. I have taken on Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, and I've taken on Donald Trump. I get paid to represent you. And this valley has been forgotten for a long time, and I will take on anybody to make that happen. And this whole idea that somehow Democrats or I'm somehow anti-police or want to defund the police. I have funded the police. I've used my position on the Appropriations Committee to fund almost 100 police officers in this district. Dozens of firefighters, brought back tens of millions of dollars for our safety forces so your communities are safe, including 2 cops in Boardman. So that's a bunch of nonsense. We support the police in this community. We don't like bad cops, but we support the cops. And I've funded the police in this community. And my opponent, just to get the record straight, she led the charge on Senate Bill 5, which was to get rid of collective bargaining rights for police, fire, teachers, and nurses. If you're for the cops, you're for their collective bargaining rights, which I am. Let's talk about economic development. I brought back $4.6 billion to my communities in the 13th Congressional District. The TJX project, 1,000 jobs coming. That project was in the tank. And I worked with the Republican Mayor Arno Hill. I worked with the Democratic legislature to pass things. Now we got construction, union construction jobs out there, more to come. We've got Lordstown Motors, electric vehicle company, coming to Lordstown. Potentially thousands of jobs there. We've got the GM and LG battery plant, moving to the future, the new economy. 1,100 jobs, $2.3 billion investment. You go to Youngstown State, $40 million I was able to bring back for the jobs of the future. We've got the best incubator, business incubator in Youngstown. We've got an energy incubator in Warren, cutting edge on battery storage. And we have a consortium coming together with a federal laboratory in Youngstown State, so we're always on the cutting edge of the next generation of jobs. I've lived here my whole life. My wife grew up in Struthers. Our kid swings on the swings in this park. I know where Elmpton Pizza is and Rip's Bar, okay? I've lived here my whole life. I drink the water you drink. My opponent isn't even from this district. And 2 years ago, she ran in another congressional district that she didn't live in and lost there. And if she loses here, she'll probably try to find another one. I live here, I was born here, I'm raised here, I'm gonna die here. I'm Tim Ryan, I'd appreciate your vote.
Okay, thank you both very much. The questions, again, will be in, response will be in reverse order, so will be Tim Ryan and then Christina Hagan. The question for our congressional district candidates is, the payroll protection plan has had a significant impact here locally. Do you believe that that program has been successful, and what steps do you believe Congress should take to assure that businesses can have their loans forgiven?
I think the program has been effective for those people who have been able to access the program. I do think the loans need to be forgiven, but I will say there are two other bills I support. The Restaurant Act to support the small restaurants, family-owned restaurants, and those restaurants who make less than $1.5 million a year go to the front of the line for the first couple of weeks to make sure that they get their money, because the big dogs got their money and the mom and pop family-run businesses who weren't chains didn't necessarily get their money. I'm also supporting a bill for the arts and entertainment industry. They were the first to go. They're gonna be the last to come back. And so this needs to be expanded. And I will just say, for the record, I think it is absolutely shameful that the HEROES Act has been put on pause. Mitch McConnell said he wanted to pause the HEROES Act. The money Tim needs, the $860,000 Boardman lost, in the HEROES Act, they would get that money. Boardman Township would get that money. $900 billion for state and local governments. And we're gonna put a pause on unemployment insurance and rent help and help for working class people, and no pause for a Supreme Court justice. I think that is putting politics before people.
He's really good. Have you ever watched tennis where they run back and forth and grab the balls in between points? He's doing a great job. As it relates to the payroll protection plan, I think that it was good-natured, well-intended, and as my opponent mentioned, it missed a lot of people that were at the bottom of that spectrum. I talked to a lot of hard-working salon owners, restaurant owners, and small business owners that fell through the cracks, that did not receive the support that they should have received during this immensely difficult time for our local economy. And the fact of the matter is, as long as government is working hard to incentivize not working, it makes it even more difficult on these small business owners to get through this time period where we have a difficult economy. The government needs to work hard on restoring policies that promote work and opportunity instead of government lording over us. What I've seen with these PPP loans is that, again, the large players did successfully see and receive those loans, but the smaller businesses did not have access. As a representative, I would work hard every single day to make sure that those small businesses were advocated for, and I would also work hard to make sure that when it was time to open their doors, that their employees would have the great incentive to work hard, to come to work, to have the opportunity to thrive and provide for their families independently of the government lording over them day after day, as we have seen over the last several months. It is time that we gave the money back to the people who earned it and the government stopped redistributing it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you both very much, Christina Hagan and Tim Ryan. Moving on to our next race. Candidates for the Ohio State Representative 59th District, Al Catrona and Chris Stanley. Speaking first will be Al Catrona.
Well, I'm completely honored to be in front of you guys here today. And I've had the honor to actually represent you. See, I took over for the late Don Manning, and I've been in office since May. And I gotta tell you right now, it's been a pleasure to be able to represent the Valley. And this Valley is dear to me, because you know what? I was raised here, I was born here, I was the person who understands that I have the Valley's values at my heart. And you know what? It takes somebody to be from here to understand exactly what it takes, because we are unique here. And you know, my background is this. I'm not only an attorney, I'm also the Chief Operating Officer for the only infectious disease medical practice and the Tri-County area. All right, that means Trumbull County, Mahoney County, and Columbiana County. Every COVID case in which ID is called, that is coming through my office, through our office, and my physicians have been the ones on the front lines, and we've been leading the support against COVID-19 right now. And you know what? I came up here to give you a classic speech, but you know what? There's nothing typical right now because 2020 is not a typical year. We have a pandemic that's going on that has been destroying our economy. We have a pandemic that's destroying our healthcare system. We are facing issues that include people who are substance abuse. We have a high situation where people's suicide rates have continued to incline and go up. See, I have the aspects of the healthcare industry to be able to utilize that and the time in which we need. And that's why I'm so proud to be able to be on that health committee. And you know what? Somebody asked me the other day, what exactly is it that you do? And I said, that's easy. My job is to listen and to advocate. And that's exactly what I've been doing since May. And I've been listening. I see bar owners, restaurant owners. I see people, the men and women who I grew up around in the same community that raised me, who are struggling right now because guess what? We have this thing called COVID-19 going on. But you know what I did? I introduced a bill that would open up the hours of operation because you know what? These restaurant owners, these bar owners, this is something that affects the chain line up and down there. And we need to do everything we can to be able to support these people. And that's what I bring down to the table. That's what I've been bringing down to Columbus already. And you know what? I'm going to continue to do that because this has been an honor to be able to represent my valley, the valley that I hold dear to my heart. And you know what? There's been so much going on between the pandemic, civil unrest, economic uncertainty, and the corruption that's going on. And I'm going to tell you what, somebody who's from here, I am tired of the corruption that you hear about every 5 to 10 years in Youngstown, Ohio. And I'm disgraced by the scene, what's going on in Columbus. You know what? I've been taking a stand, and I will continue to stand up against corruption. That is something that only somebody that's from here can understand. And you know what, guys? I appreciate your support going forward because I look forward to continue to represent the valley that has made because guess what, guys? I got the valley's values at hand. That's what I care about. That's what I love. And that's why I will continue to advocate for, to work across the aisle. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat. I am here for the valley and I will continue to advocate for you guys. Thank you.
Biggest speech of my life, and I managed to spill water on myself. Hi everyone, my name is Chris Stanley, and I'm running to make Ohio the opportunity state. The one place in the nation, more than any other, that creates opportunity no matter who you are, what you do, or where you live, so you can reach your full potential and realize your dreams. As a social studies teacher, I know that to reach their full potential, every child in Ohio must have the opportunity to attend a world-class public school. That can't happen unless and until we fix the state's unconstitutional method of funding education. When elected, I'll introduce legislation that will increase state support for every school system in the 59th district, eliminate for-profit charters, and slash local property taxes. Under my plan, a child's talent, intelligence, and thirst for knowledge, not their zip code, will determine their success in school and life. Along with addressing school funding, I'll also fight to reverse the deep cuts in state support of local government that make it difficult for our cities, our townships, and our villages to deliver the services we all need and deserve. I will not vote for any budget that does not provide local leaders with the resources they need to fund law enforcement, first responders, and programs for veterans, seniors, and kids. Like so many here in the Valley, I come from a working class family and a military family. My father worked at a steel plant, and my in-laws were lifers at GM Lordstown. I myself have been a roofer, a cabinet maker, I wasn't good at being a roofer though, a landscaper and an EMT, in addition to being a teacher, an entrepreneur, and an author. I recognize the value and dignity of hard work and the critical role good paying union jobs play in helping families grab a piece of the American dream. Major labor organizations in our area and state, including the Western Reserve Building Trades, the AFL-CIO, and the Ohio Association of Professional Firefighters have endorsed me because I vow to resist Republican attempts to make Ohio a right-to-work state. Finally, I am totally committed to ripping down the for sale sign that Republicans have erected on the front lawn of our State House. While shocking and disturbing, the $61 million bribery scheme masterminded by Larry Householder is the tip of a very sordid iceberg. Don't forget, he's the second Republican Speaker of the House in the last 2 years under investigation by the FBI. And now it's taken 6 weeks for Republicans to realize that dark money is bad, but Democrats did introduce that bill 6 days after his indictment, and also moved to have him removed, both of which Republicans in the House stopped. Now let me make something clear. They're not corrupt because they're Republicans. I know many fine Republicans. I mean, heck, half my family are Republicans. They are corrupt because they have forgotten what it means when you are in for public service. We are here for you, and we work for you, and that has been lost in our State House, and I will bring that back. Now, while passing anti-corruption legislation is important, I don't need a law to force me to do the right thing. Today, I released all of my campaign finance reports on my website and for my commitment to transparency, and I will continue to do so every single week through the end of the election. Dark money cannot control our politics anymore. I encourage my opponent to release his as well every single week here. My opponent has not had to file a campaign finance reform, and he won't until October 24th. But for me, I think we should know who is contributing to us before election, not weeks after. Thank you very much, everyone, for allowing me to speak with you this evening. And remember, decisions are made by those who show up. So please, whether you cast your ballot early or you're going on election day, vote. Thank you very much. I hope to have your support.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Our question for the Ohio State representative candidates. Who should make the decision on future lockdowns of economic and social activities in the state of Ohio? The governor or the legislature?
Ricky Bobby, everyone. So I don't think that's a simple answer, right? I think that we have lost the idea of working together to find solutions for our common problems. I think the answer to that question is the governor and legislature have to work together to make sure we have common sense policies to do the most common good for the most people. Now, I will say, I am not a fan of the extremist positions that drove Dr. Acton out of her job and that is making Governor DeWine have a hard time filling her replacement. This is a situation that affects us all. And we need to make sure we are working together to find our common solutions. It cannot be, one against another. We have to come together here. This is a situation that affects everybody. We have to have common sense solutions to these problems. Thank you.
I'm not that tall. I'm Italian. Well, you know what? I tell you this, guys. We obviously need to work together, right? That's absolutely essential. But guess what? We have 3 branches of government. And you know what? It's important for us to realize what we do. We elect our representatives. We elect the people to represent us. And that's the first and foremost. Now, I have no problem working across the aisle. I have no problem working across the different branches of the government. And I think that that's important to take note of. And that's important to make sure that everybody understands that. See, when we're talking about issues that come up, it's important to let the people's voice be heard. And that's what I'm all about. I'm all about the people's voice. It doesn't matter necessarily what I think, it's what you guys think. You guys are the ones that I'm listening to. So when it comes down to what's going on in our economy, those are questions that you guys have. I want to hear them. And I want to take that down there and I'm going to advocate for you because that's what it's all about. Now, of course, we got to work with the governor. We got to work across the board. We got to work. That's what it's all about. Communication, regardless of whatever relationship you're in. And I know there's some married folks out there, and I can tell you, you would agree. Communication is key. Communication is what makes everything happen. So we got to work together. And at the end of the day, we're trying to do the best possible thing for who? For Ohioans, to make this stuff work. So in short, the answer is this. Listen to the people, voice that down in Columbus, work across the aisle, and ultimately, we have to do both of that. We have 3 branches of government. Not one should take full control. We do not live in a dictatorship state. We live in an area where we have 3 branches of government, checks and balances, and that's where I would leave that, checks and balances.
Those guys wanted some more mic time up here, I think. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate you being here this evening. Yeah, politician loves a microphone, right? Yeah. I'm neutral here. I'm neutral. Okay, next up we have the Mahoning County Commissioners, term starting January 2nd, 2021, excuse me. The two candidates are Anthony Trafficante and Grant Williams. Anthony Trafficante will be speaking first.
I'm Italian too, but just a little taller. Good evening, everyone. I think the last time, Mark, I was on this stage was a few years ago. I got to play with the classic cruisers. That was neat. So, anyways, good evening. I hope this finds you and your family well. My name is Anthony Trafficante, and I am your county commissioner. I have been privileged to serve and represent you for some time now. I was fortunate to be raised in a very good nuclear family, a mother and a father who both worked, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in a very successful family business. I'm born and raised in the Mahoning Valley. I have an extensive work record not only in private industry but in government. I served 11 years under Congressman Jim Trafficant as Chief of Staff and Director of Community Services, and also had the opportunity to teach many classes at YSU. I miss all those students. When I talk about government and what it means to be a county commissioner, to me it's a labor of love. And you hear all the candidates tonight talk about various issues. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you all of these issues are real. No different than what the Board of Mahoning County Commissioners that we deal with on a daily basis. I want you to know as a public that you have a very strong county government. Not only by heart, not only by mind and soul, and by the grace of God, but Mahoning County is fiscally strong. Our audited statements prove that. Mahoning County's bond rating was upgraded a few years ago to a AA-. That shows that all budgetary procedures and practices that we have done with spending your tax dollars have been done legally and upfront. I have a great reputation of working with all elected officials. If you become a county commissioner, you must network. I've met all the trustees, your Boardman trustees, your congressmen, your state senators. I have a great networking background, and you need somebody in this position that's going to do it. Secondly, you need a person in this job that's going to listen. I have always prided myself in people who've known me over the years to be accessible to people. If you can't come to me, I will come to you. I've always had an open door policy. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. People stop me in the grocery store and restaurants and at the Guitar Center, and I listen to their problems. And I think that's what we need to start doing more in this country, is start listening to the people, because your politicians have to rise to the need. And in Mahoning County, we have listened. We have heard those people that have fallen through the gaps. We have a senior service levy. We have listened to those whose voices were quieted. We have a public transportation system. The Mahoning County Commissioner stepped up and took over Youngstown Developmental Center, making it a campus of care. The three county commissioners, myself, Carol, and Dave. Those people were displaced at no fault of their own. Now we will have wraparound services for the most challenged and most disabled in our community. It's a 35-acre campus. It's a project that I'm proud of and that we've worked very hard over the years to accomplish. Transparency in financing. Mahoning County was the first county to do open checkbook, so you can see what everybody makes and what we're spending our money on. But most importantly, what I have prided myself on is being a full-time county commissioner. You can call me, I will come meet with you, I will talk to you. I am a good listener by trade. I have a master's degree, community counseling and public administration. And I enjoy my job very much. I do it because I can. I don't do it for earnings. I do it because I want to do it, and I'm able to do it by the grace of God. I want to thank all of you for over the years for being my friends. Thank you. For being my friends in supporting me, and most importantly, putting the trust in myself to represent of all of you, because you do need government services. There are people who are hurting. I consider myself to be an ombudsman for those folks who cannot help themselves, and believe me, we've put a lot of money into food drives in Mahoning County through the pandemic. We've got almost $5 million in COVID money that we've put in rental assistance, mortgage assistance, food drives, and most importantly, MedVec, where we're giving small business grants to those businesses in this community to the tune of $1 million to help them. So with that being said, God bless you. I would appreciate you considered me to another 4 years as your county commissioner. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Grant Williams, and I'm running to become your next Mahoning County Commissioner. The Mahoning Valley has been my home since the day I was born, and my family's for generations before me. One of my grandfathers worked in the mills, while the other one was a heavy equipment operator. Today, after paying my way through college and graduate school, and working my way up in the construction business, I helped to run the company that my father has tirelessly built over the past 40 years. Working hard in the Steel Valley runs in my blood. Over the past several months, I've spoken to voters across our county, and what I hear most often is that things need to change. People are tired of People are tired of the job loss, of companies relocating or shutting down. People are tired of our crumbling roads, of our failing infrastructure. And many people are simply tired of career politicians who they say too often seem to put re-election over public service. I'm not a career politician, and I'm not looking to become one. I'm just a working class guy who's ready to get to work for you, the people of Mahoning County. Working in construction, on any given day, you can find me doing all kinds of things, from swinging a hammer up on the roof, to going around making sales calls and writing up estimates, or just looking at the books, finding ways to cut costs while keeping quality high. In our business, I'm involved with every part. I'm looking to bring that same kind of hands-on, business-oriented approach to our county government. If you've seen my signs around, you may have noticed my slogan, rebuilding our valley. That's what I'm looking to do. I have 3 parts to that. Number 1, to just focus more on transparency and accountability, to make sure we keep our county constituents more educated on what's going on in the county, what your county government is actually doing. Number 2, to rebuild our economy, to start bringing back jobs, start bringing back business. I think now's a great opportunity for that, actually, with the coronavirus, because we have more and more people working from home, being a low income, being a low cost area. It's a great opportunity to put us out there, companies to move here looking to cut costs. And third, I want to start focusing on our infrastructure. I know that can't happen overnight, but I think we need to look more at that and make more of a plan for that. If you like what you hear, or if you would just like to learn more about me, I'd be happy to talk with you afterwards, or you can look me up at electgrantwilliams.com, or you can see me on Facebook. If you believe in our valley and have hope for our future, but believe also that things need to change, I'd appreciate your consideration, because I believe together, if we join together, we can rebuild our valley, and we can make this valley better than ever. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Our question for the Mahoning County Commissioner candidates. Pandemic-related shutdowns and slowdowns have affected sales and property tax revenues, and the state of Ohio is decreasing funding to Ohio's counties. As a commissioner, how will you balance the county budget considering these revenue losses?
Well, I know we have funds and planned for things like this, but I think anytime you have less money coming in, you need to look at cutting costs. Like, what do you do with your own personal household budget? No matter how much you have in savings, if your income starts to go down, you need to cut costs. And I think that's what we need to do for a county budget for now. We need to look at all our costs, look at what's going out, look at what's coming in, then prioritize from top to bottom. Those that are the highest priority, I believe we should try to keep those as fully funded as possible. But those that are maybe at the bottom but still very important, I think we need to consider allocating a lower percentage than normal to those. I think it's important that the commissioners work together, not only as the Board of Commissioners, but also with the rest of county government and our townships, and trying to figure out the priorities that are most important, and ensuring that things remain as close to normal as possible. Thank you.
County government still has to function. And if you remember what I said earlier, we had strong cash carryover from last year. We have cut a lot of fat out, but we did not cut a lot of muscle, because those programs and services that many of our people in our community need must continue to run. We have strong cash reserves. We have strong cash balances in Mahoning County. Our health care fund is flush, and sales tax revenues have exceeded expectation from this year to last year. And I told you about Mahoning County's bond rating, just how strong it was. That helps immensely, because we no longer have to pay bond insurance. We've gone out for debt. We have strong liquidity in Mahoning County budgeting. And we also have strong flexibility. And we have not hired in Mahoning County since this pandemic has hit. So we have to continue to be fiscally responsible. We want to continue to see people come here and buy. I know the housing market is great here. We have LG Kim coming here, 1,000 jobs, Lordstown Motors, Myers. A lot of things are coming back here to the valley. So the more people that we have here, the more stronger our tax rate. And also retaining and creating jobs. As long as we have that formula will work well. We want to keep our students here in the valley with all of their education and technology background. We want them to be here working for us. And I see a bright future on the horizon. We will get through this pandemic by God's grace. And I think all of us have worked very hard. You could see the restaurants, how they had to basically change the way they do business. We had to change how we did business in Mahoning County. I hate Zoom and I hate teleconferencing. I may need a hearing aid because I can never make out what people are saying. It's frustrating. But I think, we've all adapted. We're trying our best. I don't have an answer for everything. But I tell you one thing, I will work hard and just as hard as anybody to continue to keep this valley strong, and I have done that in my career. So pray to God that things continue to improve in this valley. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Two of our 3 county commissioner seats are on the ballot this November. The second one will be the Mahoning County Commissioner term starting January 3rd, 2021. And the 2 candidates, two candidates are David Ditzler and Steve Kristen. First up speaking, David Ditzler.
I'm not Italian, but I'm short. I used to think I was Italian until I got that ancestor DNA test done. Now, geez, oh man. You know, I really thank you and the Boardman Civic Association for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. It's really a pleasure being here in Boardman. My wife worked here at Southern Park Mall for 38 years, managing at Macy's department store. You know, we're losing our brick and mortar. It's a lost opportunity. Washington Prime, one of the projects we're working on, is bringing it back, and we're very hopeful for good things to come back, you know, around the Southern Park Mall area with a lot of great plans. I am David Ditzler, and I'm one of your Mahoning County commissioners, and Anthony stole all my thunder, you know, because when you work as a board of three with Carol and Anthony and myself back there, we work very closely together, we complement each other, and it's difficult to take credit one over the other, but we've had a great opportunity to move forward as a county. I've had the privilege to serve as your Mahoning County Commissioner just since 2013, contrary to how people want to make me out. I also worked for 30 years prior to that in the steel industry, more than 30 years, from Youngstown Sheet and Tube to American Nickeloid in Chicago. I went from working as a laborer to working as a general manager and a global manager of sales for a steel district, managing more than $50 million in sales annually. Also, when I was working full-time in the steel industry, I also served my community like the trustees here in Boardman as an Austintown Township trustee. I think as a trustee part-time, I had an opportunity to serve there. I gained a lot of experience and knowledge that helped me become one of the Mahoning County Commissioners. It's all about, as a county commissioner, it's all about serving the people we represent. It's all about taking care of every faction of people in the community. And there's so many different entities, like you heard the levies speaking earlier today on the needs in our valley. We created a justice fund back in 2014 so that we had permanent commitment to funding for the sheriff, the prosecutor, and 911. We were helping our seniors by partnering with the Area on Aging to bring assistance into the homes and create a funding source that over 20,000 seniors have been helped since that funding source was created. As Anthony said, we took ownership of Youngstown Developmental Center when the state of Ohio shut them down and turned their back on the developmental disabled. We partnered with the private sector, Meridian Services, Alta, Easter Seals, Flying High. We're creating wraparound services with the private industry to make sure that all those people that were left behind with the Youngstown Developmental Center closing are taken care of again. There'll be 500 people served on a daily basis and over 200 jobs created there. Fiscal responsibility, I'm the anal one with numbers. You know, we had a $16 million carryover coming into this year from 2019 into 20. And we did that because we cut costs. We were very conservative in our spending. We were able to build our reserves. We created a stabilization reserve to make sure that we had additional funding. You know, we didn't anticipate a pandemic, but we were prepared. So coming into this year, as Anthony said again, the transparency, the first in the state of Ohio to be on the open checkbook and create transparency in spending. Every expenditure is online for you to see. We partnered with Trumbull County to create the Port Authority for as our economic development tool. Every year in Mahoning County for the past 6 years, we've averaged $250 million of annual new investment and new development. We've created thousands of jobs. The COVID relief, we're over $6 million in trying to assist families and small businesses stay on their feet. We've maintained all the county services that the people need and deserve. We even built a new dog pound to help provide an opportunity for a better way of life for our four-legged residents. A lot of great things are happening, and we're doing it across the aisle, Democrats and Republicans. We're working hard as a team. I'm endorsed by law enforcement, labor, the Black Caucus, and the private sector. I can understand why a lot of people want to be part of our team, but be leery of false prophets whose only intentions are to deceive. My name is Dave Ditzler. I am your Mahoning County Commissioner, and I appreciate your vote in November.
I'm not sure if I just got called a false prophet or not. But anyhow, first of all, thank you for joining us today. Tommy, doing a great job in this. This is it's a great venue to come out here. I want to say thank you to Mark, who's put a lot of work into this, because I know what they're like to put these events on. Also, thank you for the voters to come out. I spent 34 years with AT&T, and the last part of it was at the call center on South Avenue. And I got to say that whenever we had an issue with Boardman, the township trustees, Jason, if you're still here, they're wonderful to work with. So with that in mind, though, let's take a look back. I'm not a career politician. I don't want to be a career politician. I spent 34 years with AT&T. But I think what comes to mind is not about me, but it's about you. King Solomon, who is the wisest man on earth, said, without vision, people perish. What he meant by that was without direction, without vision, without a plan, people wander aimlessly. And that's how I see Mahoning County right now. I see us wandering aimlessly without some sort of direction, without a plan, without a vision. My purpose in running is to talk to you about and then promote the Mahoning County Vision Plan 2025. I call that MVP 25. Socrates said, when you want change, you don't look backwards, but you look forward and spend your time doing that. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to look backwards on what we used to have or what's going on right now. What I want to look at is what is the potential that we have for our future. So my Mahoning County Vision Plan 25 has 3 priorities. And they tell me if you have any more than 3, you can't do priorities. The first one is connected community. The second one is business growth and jobs. And the third one is clean county government. So with that in mind, connected community, what does that mean? Well, first of all, the majority of our students have an opportunity now to learn online. Youngstown City Schools, in fact, does not even have an option of being in session. We need a stronger internet. Did you know 37% of the people in Youngstown with kids in school do not have internet at home? What we need is a concentrated effort to balance internet across the county. So that means that people that are going to school, our students, have access to education. That means the people that are working at home have access to high-speed internet and they can keep their jobs. And also, we heard about the senior levy. Think of all the seniors now that are stuck at home. With a better internet across the county, we now can have telehealth solutions and medical care via the internet. Tim Ryan mentioned some of the projects in economic development. Did you notice what he said? TJX, Lordstown Works, the battery plant. Those are all in Trumbull County. Why is that? Why are the big projects that he mentioned in Trumbull County? The reason is we need to be more business friendly. Right now, businesses tell me it's difficult to do business in Mahoning County. And you take that for what it's worth. But we need to change that. We need the jobs that be brought here. I believe the best social program is a job. We've got a poverty rate of 35 growing to 38% in the city of Youngstown. That's unacceptable. 57% of our students in Youngstown City Schools are living at the poverty level. That's unacceptable. We've got to get jobs and raise this whole valley. I believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. The third thing in my vision plan, I want to call out Trumbull County, Ashtabula County, Columbiana County, Portage County, Stark County, Jefferson County. You know what you didn't hear? You didn't hear Mahoning County. You know what these are? These are the meeting minutes for county commissioner meetings in those counties. I went online and I got the meeting minutes. So what the meeting minutes are, they tell me what the decisions are made, who voted for what. They told me who gave the invocation. They basically told me how the county is functioning. You go online in Mahoning County and what do you get? You get the meeting agenda, which is good. But I want to know more than that. I want to know how people are voting. I want to know what was discussed. I want to know what the issues are. That is what I call clean county government. We need that in Mahoning County. Now, when I asked Mahoning County for the meeting minutes, I was told, yeah, we can get that to you. We can make a copy. We're going to charge you so much per page and we'll mail it to you. I think we can do better than that. I think we can do better than that. In addition to clean county government, we're talking about openness and a county that works for all. You know, right now, if you go down to the east side, you know what you see in the east side? You see tires, old tires dumped on the side. I talked to somebody about that a few weeks ago, and it's, oh yeah, we've had that problem for 40 years. Oh, 30, okay. I'm sorry about that. I get fired up sometimes. Sorry about that, Mark. Anyhow, in closing, KFC, Kristen for Commissioner, I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay, very good. And to our county commissioner candidates. And it would be Steve Kristen first and Dave Ditzler in that order, please. How much money has the Mahoning County received in CARES Act funds, and how do you propose to use those funds?
Okay. We have received, and I've got the figure in my briefcase. We've got over 800,000 of that, and that's good. That's government funding, and I do. You know, when I see something that works, I want to count it out. So I will applaud the county commissioners on some things. I'm not anti-county commissioner, and I think they've done a nice job in picking out the offices that can use that. In fact, I was at the food delivery for the United Way on Saturday. And United Way got some money, $325,000. So thank you, commissioners, for that. So I think it's important to understand that the federal government made that money for the CARES Act, and I give the commissioners credit for that. So I think you did a nice job on that. Okay.
I told you I was anal with numbers. We received $3.7 million for the first allocation of the CARES Act. The second allocation, we got $1.85 million. And the third allocation, we're going to get $6.5 million. We will receive over $12 million collectively. The first allocation, we gave monies to the Veteran Services, to the United Way. We gave it to entities to help. We put $750,000 into a fund for MedVec to give small businesses up to $10,000 each. We upped that by another $500,000 to assist small businesses. Food drives, we've had it through the United Way. We've had it through the Veteran Services. We had one down Cavelli just last weekend, and we had the one at the United Way in Boardman here, right across at Southwoods. And I was there the whole day. I don't remember seeing you there, Steve. But anyway, the CARES Act monies has come in, and we've tried to provide it to where the people need it. We're donating to the Coats for Kids for different opportunities everywhere where there's a need for people in different areas of the community. So it's going out to the people that need it the most, and those entities that we work with, they're the ones that have the feet on the ground and the people to get the money, the food and the funding directly to. Also, our meetings, they're all televised, every one of them. You can go onto our website and watch every meeting. You don't need to ask for minutes. You can watch it online.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Our next race is for Mahoning County Prosecuting Attorney. There are two candidates. We ask them both to come forward, Marty Desmond and Paul Gaines. Our first speaker will be Marty Desmond.
I feel like I should tip this young man for doing such a good job. My name is Marty Desmond. I'm running for Mahoning County Prosecutor. I grew up in a tough area on the north side of Youngstown. I experienced firsthand the crippling effects that drugs, violence, gangs, and corruption have on our community. My earliest memories include a childhood friend being shot and killed when I was 6 years old, walking home from school and being offered drugs when I was 9 years old, seeing innocent people being victimized on an almost daily basis. And from a pretty early age, I wanted to get involved in law enforcement. I wanted to make our community safe. I'm also a victim of violent crime myself. I was kidnapped, robbed, and nearly murdered by a serial rapist who had been stalking my mother. Thank God, when he shot at me, I was able to dodge the bullet. He was arrested that night by our fine men and women from the Youngstown Police Department. I have 18 years in law enforcement experience. I was a juvenile probation officer for 18 months. I worked for the FBI for 4 years, and I was a prosecutor for 13. During my time as prosecutor, I prosecuted over 1,000 criminal defendants. I was the lead prosecutor for our drug task force here in town and our violent crime task force. I received 5 individual awards from the FBI for my time in service, and my task force and I received awards from the Ohio Attorney General and the Mahoning Valley Chiefs of Police. One of my prosecutions was turned into a TV show on the Investigative Discovery Network called Your Worst Nightmare. Another one of my prosecutions was written about in Sports Illustrated in November 2017. I served on the National District Attorneys Association Marijuana Policy Review Panel. I taught criminal justice classes at YSU. I'm also actively involved with the Youngstown Community Initiative to Reduce Violence, as well as the United Way and our church. I also volunteer my time with our kids, teaching basketball, with YMCA at the church, and with Team Cure AAU. I'm running against Paul Gaines. He's been in office a long time. I'm running against him because he's failing right now as a prosecutor. He was once a very good prosecutor and a very good man. I can't say that anymore about him, unfortunately, and it hurts me to say that because we used to be friends. But he has put politics and his other friends before him, before the office, before our community. He's forgotten what it means to be a prosecutor. When I first started working for him, we had a guilty as charged rate of 96%. But because of his failed leadership, that has dropped down to 57%. During that same period of time, the number of cases dismissed every year has more than doubled. What that means is between 500 and 700 defendants every single year are not being held accountable. They're being put back onto our streets because of his failure as a leader. Youngstown, in a recent study, ranked #1 in the state for the number of triple murders. #1 in the state. We already have more murders this year than we did all of last year. And just last night in the city of Struthers, a truly horrific tragedy happened where 4 people were killed and a 4-year-old child, or 4 people were shot, and a 4-year-old child was shot and killed. 4 years old. This needs to stop. I'm not going to point the blame at the individual prosecutors because it's not them. There's good people that work in that office. But when you don't have a coach to lead you, you fail. Paul Gaines has not tried a criminal case in 12 years. He's allowed mistakes after mistakes after misconduct after misconduct to happen, resulting in cases being dismissed, convictions being overturned, and accused killers being put back onto our streets. Public records show that Paul Gaines himself has made statements under oath that are false. And his campaign contributions show another side to him. In fact, he has accepted thousands and thousands of dollars for his campaigns from individuals involved in organized criminal behavior and public corruption. Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming out here. My name is Paul Gaines. Before I was prosecutor, I was a Youngstown police officer for nearly 10 years. I was then an attorney in private practice for 15 years, focusing on criminal defense and the defense of police officers in civil rights cases in both state and federal courts. The homicide rate in Youngstown jumped from 19 in 1990 to 59 in 91. Nobody could have understood the dramatic increase in homicides and felonious assaults. Then in December of 1992, clients started telling me that murders could be fixed in Mahoning County. When nobody else would run against the incumbent prosecutor, I decided that I had to do something, and so I ran, and I won. Because I refused to accept mafia money, because I refused to take care of friends, a contract was placed on my life. On Christmas Eve, before I assumed office, an intruder broke into my home, shot me, and left me for dead. Obviously, I survived, and over 70 people were convicted of various crimes, including racketeering and bribery, including judges, lawyers, police officers, elected officials, county engineer, county sheriff, the list went on. My opponent is manipulating statistics to create a false narrative of issues that simply do not exist. The truth is, I run the largest law firm in this county, and my staff and I work hard every day to serve this community and keep you and your families safe. If my opponent has evidence of criminal misdeeds, take them to the FBI. 330-965-2940. I work with them regularly. Since I took office, more people are going to prison. Prison commitments went from 185 the year before I assumed office, climbed to over 700 the following year, and went up to nearly 1,000 every year since then, and have exceeded 1,000. I also work closely with Sheriff Jerry Green to keep the jail open. Some of you may remember when the jail was partially closed because there wasn't enough money. We worked together with the Board of County Commissioners, and we passed a justice tax that you all approved. This ensures the sheriff, the coroner, 911, and my office are funded to keep you safe. And it's working. We are a safer community today than before I assumed office. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, before I took office, most boards and townships hired private lawyers. As county prosecutor, I am statutorily bound to represent the boards, townships, and all county officials. Now, I am proud to say that my office represents every township in this county, including Boardman, saving millions of dollars in outside counsel fees and making that money available for other vital services like police, fire, and roads. Just last year, we worked on over nearly 3,000 civil matters, including contracts, opinions, and cases. We helped facilitate the renovation of the Southern Park Mall by creating the Community Reinvestment Area. I personally have represented county and townships in multiple federal and state places, including a jail case. And I just completed the Bruner case, resulting in that man receiving 41 years to life imprisonment. Every lawyer in my office and nearly every law enforcement official in this community has my personal cell phone number, and my home number is listed in the book. I am available to them 24/7, 365. Now more than that, and by the way, I spoke with Tim Roddy this morning in the Struthers homicide, and right before I arrived here, I was speaking with Captain Dan Mamula. Ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you this: we will continue to follow the law in the prosecution of cases. We will continue to follow the law in the representation of officials, and I am asking that all of you for your support and your vote so we can continue keeping Mahoning County safe. Thank you.
Okay, a question for our Mahoning County prosecuting attorneys candidates. And we'll go in reverse order, so Paul Gaines, you'll be going first to answer. 1 minute to answer, please. The pandemic is affecting court operations and availability. What is your biggest concern regarding the prosecutor's office ability to bring the accused forward in a timely manner?
My biggest concern is the safety of individuals. The Supreme Court issued a moratorium on the time restraints or constraints and bringing them to trial. As you know, we just had a trial and we're going to continue to have the trials. The courts are taking steps to do it. So my concern primarily is the safety of jurors and court personnel and of course my staff and witnesses that are involved in the case. Thank you.
My concern with every case, as all cases, is seeing that justice is done. And what that means is delivering justice for the victims. The victims have been forgotten by Paul Gaines over these past several years. And in doing that, I intend on working with the judges, making sure that we can have trials that not only are constitutional, but are also speedy and bring forth justice for our victims. I'm a victim of violent crime myself, and I believe in that with all my heart and all my soul. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Our next race is for the Mahoney County Probate Court Judge. Two candidates, David Engler and Robert Rusu. First to speak, David Engler.
Good afternoon. My name is David Engler, and I am running for Mahoney County Probate Court Judge. Thank you so much for the historic amount of write-in votes that were cast in May that allowed me to be on the ballot this November coming up. Some history about me. My most important job, I think, these days is being a grandfather, but those two children are in Chicago. And it's also, my past history is that I've been a former Youngstown City Councilman way back in the 80s, and then a county commissioner in the 90s, and then for the last 21 years on the Mahoney County Educational Service Center Board, and also the Mahoney County Career and Technical Center. Some of the things that were important to me during those years of service were creating 911, which is what I did, curbside recycling, building a jail. My entire career has been about working for, fighting for people who are in need. My legal career, which started on the corner of 224 and Market Street, where Walgreens is now, it was Mike Morley, now Judge Durkin, Jack Ostnamer. We were all in that same little office together on the second floor of that building, is where I started off, and then we moved down to the 721 building just down the street here. And also in my legal career over the last 35 years, it's also been about representing real people, people who are in need, people who are in trouble, hundreds and hundreds of divorces, custody cases, cases where there's adoptions, cases where people are fighting in probate. And one thing I often said, in probate court, you can see people fight more ferociously and fiercely and with more venom than they do actually in divorce court. When someone's gone and they're fighting over the assets of someone who has died, it gets very ugly. One of my most important cases that I've ever had, and this is just to give you an insight into who I am as a person, is there was a man came to me whose child was abducted at the age of 1 year old. And they had a lead on where that child was taken, and it was North Carolina. I got myself admitted into the North Carolina Bar Association for the purposes of that case, went down to North Carolina, and in a matter of a period over 2 weeks, was able to help my client locate his daughter, which had been abducted by the mother, moved in with what turns out to be who she thought was her father. This little girl, this 12-year-old, thought it was her father. But the 12-year-old's father, fake father, was actually sexually molesting her and another classmate. And that's when we found out that where she was. We went down there, we had a hearing, we got her back to the father. I drove her and the father back to Mahoning County. It probably was the most important case I've ever been involved with, including my work with victims like the Teddy Foltz case out of Struthers, or the little girl that was molested up in Trumbull County at the Children's Service Center. But the point being, it's always been about listening to people and working with people and fighting for people. And the most important thing I can do as a probate court judge is understand this. If you're coming to court, that day is your most important day. That case that comes before that probate court judge is your most important case. And I will treat you and your case with all the dignity and respect that it's deserving. And I promise you this, and if you're a shady caregiver or a greedy relative and you think you're gonna get over one of a senior citizen in this community, whether they're alive and under a guardianship or whether they've passed on, you got another things coming, you're gonna have to come through me. Thank you, I appreciate your support and your vote come November. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. You guys okay? You're looking cold out there. That sun went down. Move around. It's my job as probate judge to keep you guys safe. So, good evening. My name is Robert Rusu, and I am your Mahoning County probate judge. I've been your judge. Thank you, Team Purple out there. I've been your judge since 2014 when I was appointed by the governor to fill an unexpired term, and then I won the general election in November of 2014. You elected me to bring reform and professionalism back to this important office. Along with my great staff, I've worked hard to modernize the probate court and to ensure that we serve you, the citizens, very well. I do have my opponent here, and you will probably see some of his campaign material that says he wants to protect seniors and their life's work. Well, let me tell you, that's what I've been doing the last 27 years of my legal career. See, when I was in law school, I first started at the Elder Law 60+ Law Clinic in Lansing, Michigan. That's where I worked to protect seniors. Then I transitioned into my law practice where I did exclusively probate, estate planning, and elder law for the next 20 years until I was appointed to the bench by the governor. I brought all that experience to the bench when I was elected, and I have continued to protect the wards, the beneficiaries, and all the citizens that come in front of me at the probate court. However, please understand, that's not the only thing that a probate judge does. I also handle adoptions, I grant marriage licenses, one of my adoptees over there. I hear guardianship cases, and I even handle when someone wants to change their name. I have dedicated my entire career to the area of probate law, and I've been honored to serve as your probate judge these last 6 years. Now, I say these last 6 years, what have we done in the last 6 years, you want to know? Well, my staff and I, we've accomplished a lot, and we want to continue doing that. We've done things like we've began an annual adoption celebration in its 7th year this year. It brings awareness of individuals in foster care and the importance and the rewards of being an adoptive parent. We also began a program for tracking all of our wards under guardianship, so we know where those wards are and which facilities they are in. And if there's a problem in those facilities, we can immediately identify which ones are our wards, how to get in contact with their guardians, and tell them to protect them. The other thing that I've done that I'm proud about is a self-help desk. It helps individuals like yourself that have lost a loved one. I pair you up with an attorney at no cost to you that will help you navigate the probate process during a very difficult time. The last thing that we've done, not the last thing, we're going to continue working, but one of the biggest things that we've done is we created a mental health fresh start court. This is a court where individuals that are recently discharged from the mental health hospital, they are tracked, they are brought in front of my court, and we help them navigate, help them stay safe, help them stay on their medication, and let them know there's people out there and there's services out there that helps them keep out of the hospital, which saves you, the taxpayer, money and keeps them healthier. These are the types of things that I've been doing my entire career, whether it was in my private practice or it's on the bench. I have been an active volunteer with the organizations like the Mahoning Valley Campfire Association and the Alzheimer's Assistance and Referral Network. It doesn't matter if I'm on the bench or in my private life. Service to others is what drives what I do. I hope I can count on your support to keep this progress going, and I ask for humbly your support this November. Thank you.
gentlemen. Our question for the Mahoney County probate judge candidates, are probate court magistrates permitted to have an outside law practice? And if so, do they, and does this affect the court's operations?
Great question, Mark. Yes, magistrates, as long as they're not full-time magistrates, can have a practice and outside practice. However, they are not allowed to practice in the court that they sit, so therefore they're not allowed to do any probate work. I prohibit my my magistrates, obviously, from doing that. They can do it in other counties, but they are under the under our judicial canons. They are authorized to do that.
One of the things I did forget to mention is that in the course of the last 20 years, I also started a company called LightGov. We serve 20,000 eventual guardians and wards and representative payees throughout the country. It's the leading software company in this country that provides guardianship software, representative payee software. But as it relates to a magistrate, I think the magistrate should be full-time to that court, so they're focused only on that, and they have no chance to have any conflicts of interest with any of their other work outside of being a magistrate. So I think I would tend to suggest that the magistrates only work in the probate court and no other practice. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Our next race is the Mahoney County Area Court Judge. The two candidates are J.P. Morgan and Joe Schiavone. First speaker, J.P. Morgan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hanging in here. I am Judge J.P. Morgan, and I currently serve as your Mahoney County Court Judge. I've been your county court judge for over 18 months, and I'm running to retain the seat this fall. I want you to know that I bring experience, integrity, and vision to this court. For those of you that may not know me yet, I have lived most of my life here in Mahoney County. My wife and I live in Canfield with our 6 children. This year was a unique year for us in that we've sent our oldest daughter off to her first year of college, and we sent our youngest son to first grade. We have 2 kids that can drive, so I understand the angst and worry of every parent when your child drives out of the driveway. You worry about them until they pull back in safe. I have 3 teenagers and 2 elementary students, so we worry about human trafficking and we worry about violent crime that's occurring. I think about the issue that happened last night in Struthers, and I worry that my children are going to be safe. I know how important it is to keep our communities safe, and much of that can start at the judicial level. I will continue to hand down stiff sentences for the worst offenders and keep them from harming our families and our community. And while I do have an eye towards punishment, that's what judges are, that's our first priority. I also understand the importance of rehabilitation, and so I've implemented several programs in our court to help people that have gone outside of the bounds of the law to get back in and become law-abiding citizens. The first is I've implemented a license recovery program to help drivers get a valid license. 1 in every 4 driver that you come across out there on the street is not licensed, which likely means that they're not insured, and that's not safe. I've also looked at rehabilitation programs for mental health, drug abuse, so that we make sure that the people that we put on probation are getting the best services. We've added faith-based services. We want to make sure that we're tracking these folks. One of the things that I've opened up on my particular docket is that I have callbacks. So if you get placed on probation and you get sent to a drug facility, you're coming back right before me in about 60 days, and you're going to tell me how you're doing. And I make sure that we're doing that. I have over 18 years of legal experience prosecuting, public defender, guardian ad litem, handling civil matters. I've handled thousands of cases in this valley, which makes me the most experienced candidate for this job. I've also served as the chairman of a local ethics board prosecuting lawyers
who stole from their clients or committed ethical violations. I know what it means to hold high integrity and values on the bench. I'd like to conclude with this. My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ teaches us in Luke, to whom much is given, much is required. I want you to know that being your judge is not just a job for me. It's not a stepping stone to a bigger or better position. It's simply a part of my mission. I understand the responsibility of this position that I've been entrusted. I know your expectations, and I know God's expectations. To exercise wise judgment, to be honest, to be prudent, and to be responsible. That is how I serve my community well from the bench. I promise to continue to do this if you retain me as your Mahoning County Court Judge, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Schiavone. And my opponent says that he's the most experienced in this race. And so I guess I'll tell you about my experiences, and then you all can decide, and whoever's watching, when they replay, can decide, and the county can decide. You know, I grew up in the Mahoning Valley, and growing up here, my parents and my grandparents taught me respect. They taught me how to be polite to others. My grandfather used to bring me down to the courthouse. He was a lawyer. And he treated every single human being the same, whether you were the police officer at the front, you were cleaning the floors, you were the judge that he was going in front of. And that's something that was impactful for me. We all have these impactful memories. That's the first one that I have. And then using that and building off that, I graduated from Boardman High School, worked during school, fought in the Golden Gloves. That experience taught me toughness, dedication, sacrifice. Went away to college, went to law school. During law school, I worked for Judge Durkin. Judge Durkin's currently a common pleas judge. I was his clerk in the summers. And Judge Durkin taught me how to use your heart and use your brain at the same time when dealing with people that come in front of the court. And I'll never forget the way that he treated those folks that came into his courtroom and the respect that they had for him. When I graduated from law school, I came back to the Valley and started representing injured workers as a lawyer about 15 years ago. My father and I have done that ever since. And when I go to court with my injured workers, I fight for them every single day like they're my brother, my best friend, because that's what they signed me up to do. And so I've done that for 15 years. I've represented people as a workers' comp lawyer. I've represented people in criminal matters. I've represented people in probate court and domestic, dealing with contracts. I also had this part-time job as a state senator for 10 years. And I spent a lot of time in Columbus fighting to change the laws for the better for the Valley. And I did that by listening and learning and fighting hard for the people that I represent. So I take all of those experiences, I put them into one bundle, and I think about how I could be the most efficient as a judge. Being a good judge is about efficiency, it's about caring about others, and it's about being unbiased and dedicated to what you're doing. If you elect me to be your next county court judge, I promise you that you will always get that from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Our question for the Mahoning County Court Judge candidates: what is your position on court consolidation within the county courts and consolidation with lower courts in Mahoning County? First up is Joe Schiavone.
I thought you were protecting me from myself, but you were in the middle there, yes. So, consolidation makes sense when the numbers show that that's what should be done. You know, to answer your question directly, that's up to the legislature, and so it's constantly something that's being bounced down in the House and the Senate, and that's an issue for our state Senate and our state representatives to decide. But I will always look at the facts, and if the facts say that you should do something, then do something. So if a consolidation is necessary based on the facts and the needs of the Valley, then you work in order to make it the most efficient system possible.
So Joe is correct that this is a legislative decision. The legislatures have created the courts in which we have, and so they would need to change that. If they looked for insight from me, I would tell them that we do need to look at potentially consolidating our courts, even if that means elimination of my job. We have set up our 4 county courts throughout our county by population and a little bit by geography. Being the newest judge on the court, I get sent 35 minutes out to Sebring, which if you don't know, that is in Mahoning County. You just have to go beyond Salem, which ironically is in Columbiana County. But in any event, we do a great service out there for the folks that live in that area. You have to understand, a person should not have to drive 35 minutes to fight a speeding ticket. So it's good that we have these courts geographically positioned. I think we need to look at ways that we can combine our clerk services. That's going to be with our county clerk. There's some other things that we could do to combine our services so that we can become more efficient. One of the things that we have been doing is the county sheriff has to transport these prisoners out to the different courts for arraignments and such. The COVID pandemic has helped us in a way because it's allowed us to get a grant from the Supreme Court that gave us remote technology so that we can arraign these inmates directly from the jail. So I and my colleagues on the bench, I notice that Joe Hauser is here, we are always looking for ways to save money. And again, to answer the question, Mark, if consolidation is what we need, and we can still do the same job effectively, I am 100% for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I love these little pit stops, Tommy. This is great. Just you're in, you're out. You don't even see them. It's awesome. Okay, our final race of the evening is for Mahoning County Recorder. The 2 candidates are Brian Devine and Nora Lynn Palermo. First to speak will be Brian Devine.
Last but not forgotten. It's getting a little bit cold here, but my name is Brian Devine. I grew up in Mahoning County. In fact, I grew up right in Apple Acres right there. Graduated Boardman High School. Been voting since 18 years old. I was always told, if you don't like something, you could change it. So that's why I've been volunteering between my work and everything else. And I took the chance to run for political office. Only because I have a work ethic that probably outbeats most people I know. I treat people correctly, and my family respects me for everything I do for them. And one thing that I learned over the years is you can make something better if you try. You just have to keep at it, look at it, study it. If you have to, I plan on going to the other different areas, recorders in the area, and getting their feedback, see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, to look at everything to make it a better office, which it's going to be a little bit of work, but I think we could probably get it done. So with all that said, I think if you give me a chance, I could probably change your mind. So I appreciate your vote in November. Thanks.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Boardman Civic Association for inviting me here this evening, and I would like to thank all of you for coming out to be better informed voters. I'm Nora Lynn Palermo, and I'm your Mahoning County Recorder. I have been the recorder since 2007. I am the first woman elected to be the Mahoning County Recorder. This will be my 4th time running. In case you don't know, the Recorder's Office handles anything that has to do with your real estate. As recorder, I have generated over $1.5 million in cost savings for the general fund by reducing staff and implementing a new internet technology scanning program. My office offers veterans document identification cards, which many merchants offer discounts on, and we also offer property fraud protection alert. And both of these are offered to you, the taxpayers, at no fee. I have a staff of 6. And And to date this year, I'm sorry, but I'm freezing. That's why my voice is working. To date this year, my office has processed documents totaling $1.312 million, of which 560,000 goes to the general fund, 633,000 to the Ohio Housing Trust Fund, and 99,000 to an equipment fund, which I use to pay all of the maintenance agreements and supplies. As the keeper of records of Mahoning County for the last 12 years, I am dedicated to the maintenance of all verified documents in the Mahoning County Recorder's Office. I pride myself on customer service, dedication to all citizens, and accountability as an elected official. I would like to continue to serve the taxpayers of Mahoning County with the valued attention I now provide. Again, I would like to thank the association for this event, and I thank all of you for the privilege of your time. I would be honored to have your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. We do have a question for the Mahoning County Recorder candidates. Please explain why Recorder Office documents are available online and why some documents cannot be seen online. Norland, you're first, please.
Right now, you can only view our index online, and that is because our books are scanned back to 1985, but there are a lot of Social Security numbers on them. In 2009, they came out with a law that we can't have records online with Social Security numbers. I don't have the money at the present time, but I'm working on it to redact all the instruments from 1985 to the present, and then they will be online.
The material online is on the website. You can get to it, but there's not a lot there. So there's a lot of work needs to be done there to get out to the public. So that's one thing, one room for improvement there to look at.
Well, thank you both very much. And thank you to all the speakers who presented here this evening. And we thank you, the Mahoning County Mental Health Board, for helping us, Jam Sound for helping us as well, Tommy Testa and Meg Harris for keeping us organized, George Ferris for our promotions. I'm not done yet. Where's everybody going? I'm the last guy to speak and everybody wants to leave. Really? Really? It's cold up here too. I take that a little personally. But thank you to Karen McCallum too, especially. Karen, you're so very organized and did such a good job in getting this organized for us tonight. Thank you, and Boardman Park. And Ricky Bobby Testa over there, thank you very much. You know, in closing, an informed electorate is a personal responsibility of all Americans, which we owe to our forefathers and to the generations who came before us. Those individuals who at great personal risk, including those pilgrims, formed this nation and saw over time to its stewardship, as well as those who served our country in a military capacity, all to preserve our way of life. We certainly hope you will consider exercising the freedoms you enjoy this November in the election and in many more in the future. On behalf of the Boardman Civic Association and our host site, Boardman Park, we say thank you, God bless America, and good night. We are adjourned.